The hadith, inshallah, that we're going to cover today, but it's going to require some participation from everyone. It's the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, as collected in Bukhari and Muslim. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam says that Allah Azza wa Jal says, قال الله تعالى كل عمل ابن آدم له إلا الصوم فإنه لي وأنا أجزي به والصيام جنة فإذا كان يوم صوم أحدكم فلا يرفث ولا يصخب فإن سابه أحد أو قاتله فليقل إني صائم. This hadith, Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu said that the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said that Allah, the Most High, says that the actions of the servant are Adam, that the actions of the son of Adam are for him, except for fasting. Fasting is for me, and I reward the one who fasts. I reward the fasting. Fasting is a shield. Siyamu junnah. It's a shield. It is a protection. So, on the day that one of you is fasting, he should not yarfuth. How many of you have made Hajj before? You've made Hajj. You've heard this terminology on Hajj. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Man hajja falam yarfuth, walam yafsuq, raja'a kayawma waladathu umm." Whoever performs Hajj and he does not engage in ar-rafath. What does that mean? Anybody know what that means? Foul speech? Okay. So it can refer to obscene language, or it can mean any type of marital contact. I'll leave it like that. Anything that leads to that, okay? So the Prophet ﷺ says here that fasting is a shield. So on the day that you are fasting, there should be no rafath. There should be nothing that leads to marital relations. وَلَا يَسْخَبْ. And he doesn't speak loudly, argue, these type of things, and shout. This is a sakhab, to speak loudly and to be loud and vulgar. فَإِنْ سَابَهُ أَحَدٌ أَوْ قَاتَلَهُ فَلْيَقُلْ إِنِّي صَائِمٌ. So if somebody insults him or attempts to engage him in fighting or something like that, he just says, I'm fasting. I'm fasting. وَالَّذِي نَفْسُ مُحَمَّدٍ بِيَدِهِ لَخَلُوفُ فَمِ الصَّائِمِ أَطْيَبُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ مِنْ رِيحِ الْمِسْكِ. By the one in whose hand Muhammad's soul is in, meaning by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the smell that comes from the mouth of one who is fasting is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is purer. It is better than the smell of musk. لِلصَّائِمِ فَرْحَتَانِ. The fasting person has two times when he is extremely happy. إِذَا أَفْطَرَ فَرِحَ بِفِطْرِهِ وَإِذَا لَقِيَ رَبَّهُ فَرِحَ بِصَوْمِهِ. If he breaks his fast, or when he breaks his fast, he is happy that he has gotten the opportunity to break his fast. And when he meets his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is happy that he fasted. He is happy that he fasted. The part of this hadith that we're going to focus on, inshallah ta'ala, is the part where where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if this is part of the hadith al-Qudsi, as-siyamu junnah. Fasting is a shield. Fasting is a shield. It is a protection. And we're going to do, before I tell you what the scholars of hadith have said about this particular part of the hadith, what you're going to do is, with the person sitting next to you, inshallah, for the next 2 minutes, you're going to talk about what you think this means. How do you see fasting as being a protection? What do you do when you fast? I'm asking. You abstain from food. Okay, that's one. What else?
Doing it for Allah.
Forget what you're doing it for. What are you doing? You abstain from food. Okay, what else? You abstain from relations with your family and your wife. Yes. Sorry?
Foul language.
You abstain from foul language. Okay, time out. If somebody says something that's foul, they break their fast? Left? Okay. So, okay, we'll get back to that. What I want you to do, when the rules for fasting, the rule for fasting is that you're abstaining from food and you're abstaining from drink, you're abstaining from relations with your wife and anything else that is going to break your fast. From when to when? Sun up to sundown, right? No, wrong. All right, let's try again. Say it in English. He said, from Fajr till Maghrib, isn't that sun up to sundown? Yes? No. When is that from? From the what now? You don't get the answer. That's cheating. Somebody else. Just before the sunrise. Okay, what's that? 15 minutes before sunrise? That's Fajr? Come on, Shabbat. Fajr is dawn. That's the English word for it. Dawn. Okay? Play it. So from dawn until sunset. Not from sunrise to sunset. I only say that because sometimes it's important. You'll see that sometimes in the literature, especially when non-Muslims write about the fast, they'll write from sunup to sundown. You know, this is when Muslims abstain from, these things from sunup to sundown. And then people actually get confused about that. And so they'll eat so they look at you can look at any calendar and you can see when sunrise is and when sunset. And so if a person fasts from right before sunrise to sunset, then that fast is incorrect. The fast is incorrect. You understand? Because you have to fast from Fajr, which is dawn, until sunset. Okay. All right. So now, I've given you a chance to think about some things. With your partner right now, even though I know you didn't come with a partner, you're going to have a partner right now. With the person sitting next to you. There's no exception. So the only way there's an exception is if after everybody partners up, there's only one person left. That person is going to join a group with somebody else. So there'll be 3 people. That's no problem. In fact, if you want to be 3, that's not a problem. What I want you to do for the next 2 minutes is I want you to talk about, amongst yourselves, how is fasting a protection? Think about this question right here. How is fasting a protection? What is it a protection from? What is it a protection from? Okay, what are 2 questions? What's the 2 questions? How's fasting a protection? And what is it protecting you from? Okay, you got 2 minutes. No exceptions, fellas. Shaykh Kabir. You don't know what the question is? What is the shield behind the children? Right. How is the shield? Okay, you got 1 minute left. $30 seconds. I'll throw in another question. Where does it protect you? $10 seconds. hope you guys got some good answers. طيب, Bismillah. Okay. All right, you get a chance to get back with your partner later, inshallah. No, really, because it's important that this that what we do today is very practical. You don't want to just come and listen and you go home with nothing. So, inshallah, as-siyamu junnah, the Prophet ﷺ said. Fasting, or it could be from the part of the hadith that's Qudsi, fasting is a protection. Like, question number 1. How is that? How is it a protection? Yes.
Protect you from the hellfire.
Okay, it protects you from the hellfire. Like, how?
Because based on the hadith that the doors of the hellfire are closed.
Okay, so the doors of the hellfire are closed during the month of Ramadan. The doors of Jannah are open. Like, that's Allah protecting you. He's the one that closed the doors, not your fast. It's closed even for the people that's not fasting. Somebody might have diabetes, can't fast the month of Ramadan. Still closed. Like, but you wanted something. Your answer is right. It is a protection from the hellfire. Yes.
It's a protection from the fire across the land that's not buried, based on the hadith of the Prophet.
Okay, so it protects a person who is not married from doing things that would be displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on, and that is based on another hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he said, Ya ma'ashar al-shabab, man istata'a minkum al-ba'ata falyatazawwaj. O young men, for those amongst you who have the ability to get married, then let them do so. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ, and whoever cannot, فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ, then he should fast, فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ وِجَاء, because it is a protection for him, right? Wijat, it means that it breaks his passion, if you will, and it slows him down a little bit. Nah. Tayyib, yes.
So in essence, it's protect you from your own self.
So it's protecting a person from himself, which is an interesting concept, and we've talked about that on a few occasions. That you have to have a relationship with yourself. So it is protecting you from yourself. Tayyib. Anything else? What is it protecting you from? How does it protect you? When does it protect you?
It protects you from the hellfire because you're fulfilling an obligation.
Okay, protects you from the hellfire because you're fulfilling an obligation. Tayyib. Scholars of hadith say, rahimahumullah, that the protection that is mentioned in this hadith, that it is a junnah, a protection or a shield. Think of it as a shield. And as a matter of fact, some of the scholars of hadith, when they talk about this, they want you to picture that. They want you to picture yourself in a battle. You're in this battle, and what is it that is going to protect you from the enemy's spears, from the enemy's arrows? You have to have a shield. And just imagine, if you have a small shield, right? It only can protect like this much of your body. It's only going to protect a very, small portion of your body. Is that shield really effective? No, it's not an effective shield. What if the shield has holes in it? Is it an effective shield? No, it's not effective because a person's arrow can go right through that shield. And if it's too small, it's only going to cover a certain part of your body, you're vulnerable. And this is what happens when a person does not fast correctly. And that starts with the objective of fasting. Meaning that our Prophet ﷺ said, Man sama Ramadana imanan wa ihtisaban, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbihi. Whoever fasts the month of Ramadan, for what? Because of his iman. With iman and with ihtisab. Ihtisab means he's seeking that reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will have his past sins forgiven. We understand from that hadith is that a person who does not fast iman wa ihtisaban, out of true faith, belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and belief that Allah azza wa jal has obligated us to fast, this month for our benefit, not for his benefit, subhanahu wa ta'ala, but for our benefit. Whoever does not fast in that manner, that they won't have the reward that is mentioned in this hadith. Their fast is going to be deficient. What are some examples of that? Some people fast because everybody in the family is fasting. And you brothers have to be very careful, and sisters as well. We have to be very careful with our children that they're not simply fasting because we're Muslim and everybody fasts in Ramadan. This is we have to stop at this point for a second. Because what you'll find, and this is prevalent on social media, Ramadan tips. Ramadan tips. What are they telling you about? Seriously, if you type in something like that on YouTube or any other form of social media, tips for fasting the month of Ramadan, they're going to talk about how to hydrate in the morning. Do not overeat. They're going to give you all of these, tips on how to eat and what to eat during the month of Ramadan. And if you want to work out, you don't have to break your routine. Just make sure you do it at this particular time. And you can do it right before fast. And all of these are Ramadan tips. In other words, everything is focused on what? It's all about food. The month when you fast, all of the tips are about food. It's an interesting phenomenon, subhanAllah, that everything now that circles the month of Ramadan now is centered around food. Tips during Ramadan. How to keep your routine, your same routine that you were already on. How do you keep that during the month of Ramadan? So if you bodybuild and you do this and you go to the gym and you can still do that in Ramadan. You just kind of got to turn your night into the day and your day into the night. And this is what Ramadan is about. Why? This is cultural Islam. This is cultural Islam. And we face that, and many of us may have accepted Islam, but you face that with the next generation of Muslims if you don't cultivate them from the very beginning that this is a great form of worship for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And out of the pillars of Islam, it is the one form of worship that you don't see, which makes it very different from a lot of the other forms of worship that we do. It's nothing stopping your child when nobody else is around from taking a drink of water. Nothing. Correct? You are trying to inculcate in them what? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching them. That Allah Azza wa Jalla is Al-Alim. That He knows what they're doing. That they are leaving off these things that they naturally crave to delay gratification. SubhanAllah. And this is something that as time goes on, we lose this as a culture. I'm talking about as Americans. There used to be a time when if you wanted something that tasted good, that you actually had to wait a few minutes, right? Somebody actually had to cook. And now you just throw it in 45 seconds, a minute and a half, and then you go, voila, there's a meal, right? Because everything has become about instant gratification. People can't even read anymore because everything is, just send me over a text. 140 characters or less. And this is what life has become. When you now see, and I'm just talking about from a worldly perspective, the gratification that you have when you break your fast. How does it feel? Does it feel like any other day when you're just going to get lunch? No. You're going to have dinner? Absolutely not. There's a totally different sweetness to whatever it is. That water has a totally different, it tastes like something. SubhanAllah. Any other day, it's like, nah, I take this kind of drink. But water has certain properties. It just feels different. Why? Because you've delayed that gratification and you've done it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that in and of itself is a major form of tarbiyah, if you will. That we get to the point that we are willing to delay certain pleasures so that we can please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to give us much more than whatever it is that we left off. من ترك, the Prophet ﷺ said, من ترك شيئا لله عوضه خيرا منه. Put this in your minds. Spread this to your families. Whoever leaves off something for Allah, Allah is going to give him better than that. And many times you will get what is better than that in this dunya, not to mention the reward that you get from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hereafter. But it has to be left for Allah. You don't leave off that food for anything else. You don't leave it off just because your family is leaving it off. You're leaving this off for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imanan wa ihtisaban. غُفِرَ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِهِ. Then all of his previous sins will be forgiven. Back to this part of the hadith. As-siyamu junnah. Fasting is a shield. If your fasting is deficient, then its protection will not be what it's supposed to be. It's going to have holes in it. That's why the Prophet ﷺ gave us other instructions so that we would protect our fast from the things that cause holes to come into the shield. So the Prophet ﷺ said, مَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ قَوْلَ الزُّورِ وَالْعَمَلَ بِهِ وَالْجَهْلِ فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ أَنْ يَتْرُكَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. I want us to ponder and reflect over this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever does not leave off qawl az-zur. What's qawl az-zur? What is that? What's that mean?
Nasty talk.
What did you say?
Nasty talk.
Nasty talk? Not exactly.
Not just free talk, but anything that's...
No, I understand. Like, qawl az-zur. What's that mean? You know, qawl az-zur is from kaba'ir al-dunub. The Prophet ﷺ, it's from the major sins. It's not something we should be unaware of. We should know what the major sins are so that we are very careful to avoid them. What is that? What is qawl az-zur? Sorry. Several things you said?
I mean, it's from...
What's qawl mean? Qala yaqulu qawlan. Speech. Okay, a word, a statement. Okay. Zur. False statement. Okay. Like, sometimes it's translated as bearing false witness, which comes under it. So for example, let's say that you wanted somebody to get something. So you made a false statement to an insurance company so that you could get a claim. Or you were a witness to something, and then you exaggerated how it actually happened so that you could get more back. That is qawl az-zur. That's a false claim. In this particular hadith, man lam yada' qawl az-zur, the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever does not leave off false speech. Many of the scholars of hadith say that here the Prophet ﷺ is referring to any form of lying. Whoever does not leave off false speech and acting according to false speech and jahl. Jahl means here just being foolish, yeah, being a safa, or being easily agitated. All of this comes under jahl. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no need for him to leave off his food and his drink. Like, think about this. Does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala need anything? No. Allah Azza wa Jal needs nothing. Huwa al-ghani. Huwa al-ghani. Which means that he is free of need. He is rich. He's free of need. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does that mean here when the Prophet ﷺ says that Allah has no need for him to leave off his food and drink? What's that mean?
His fast is deficient.
That means that the part of the etiquettes of his fasting is that he does not lie, and that he's not aggressive in his behavior. He's not easily agitated. If a person lies, this is why Ibn Battal and other scholars of hadith say that this hadith is a clear indication that anybody who lies while he is fasting, then the reward for his fasting is void. Think about that again. Anybody who lies, I'll tell you, some of you may not think about it like this. you are on the way, you're late, you're running late, you're supposed to be going to see somebody. They say, where are you? You know you're 15 minutes away. You say, I'm 5 minutes away. You know what that's called? It's called a lie. That's called a lie. You can try to do it any way you want. What the scholars of hadith are saying here is that if you do that while you're fasting, you have no reward for your fast. Which is a deep concept. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِلَّا الصَّوْمَ فَإِنَّهُ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ. Except for fasting, fasting is for me and I reward for it. So look at this. In other narrations of the same hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning that for every good deed that you do, He rewards it 10 times to 700 times over. You give $1, you give $1 for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's multiplied 10 times. That is, that on your scales, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, it's as if you've given $10. It's as if you've given up to $700, except for fasting. Fasting doesn't have that limit. But just imagine, because you lied, you destroyed all of that. You know why that's important? And for those of you, maybe, I don't know, a khutbah I gave, about a month ago, I mentioned, and for those of you who were present, then as they say, repetition is one of the best teachers, that the average American lies 11 times a week. So that's about 1.5 lies a day. But that's just the average. That's like people that don't even, that's like counting people in nursing homes and things like that don't even talk too much about anything. So when you get down to the nitty gritty, people are lying on a daily basis, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and it's a problem. And so what's happening now is that as a Muslim, you are conscious of this hadith, man lam yada' qawl as-zur. Whoever does not leave off false speech. You're conscious of that now. And so when the brother asks you, well, what's up? Are you on your way? You say, look, to be honest with you, I'm running late. I'll be there in 15 minutes, inshallah. And you know what happens after that? You start to realize that it's going to be okay. That you don't have to lie to impress somebody. You don't have to lie to create a false reality about your life, which is what some people lie for. Life is just not exciting for them, so they lie about it. Yeah, I did this and I did that. It's like they're action heroes or something, because life is just too dull for them. And then you realize that everything you say is being written down. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to hold you accountable for every single utterance. And that becomes something that now, as you fast, you have a heightened awareness of that. And so you, for a full 30 days, don't tell one lie. And you know what happens after that? It becomes easy to tell the truth. And Allah Azza wa Jalla told us in the Quran, Ya alladhina amanu, taqullah, wa kunu ma'as-sadiqeen. Oh, you believe. Fear Allah, have taqwa of Allah, be conscious of Allah, which is your whole objective, right? Which is your primary objective. Fasting the month of Ramadan is to achieve taqwa. And do what along with that? Stop there. Wa kunu ma'as-sadiqeen, and be with those who are truthful. And that truthful incorporates truth in speech and other forms of being truthful, but that's one of the most obvious. And so it's very important, that as you fast, you think about these things, because otherwise your shield is going to be punctured. Not from the outside, but from the inside. You're the one cutting holes in your own shield. and then your fast is not the protection that it is supposed to be for you. And so, as many of you mentioned, fasting is a protection from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And nobody should feel safe from Allah Azza wa Jal's punishment. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ra'uf, He's Rahim, He's Rahman, all of those things. But His punishment is severe. And al-amin min makrillah, that is for a person to feel safe from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment, is also a major sin. We don't talk about it because it's not adultery, it's not backbiting, it's not this. A lot of times the actions of the heart are ignored. They get ignored because you can't see it. But feeling safe, like, oh, I'm good, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to punish me, that's a major sin. Its opposite is also a major sin. To despair from Allah's mercy is a major sin. For a person to feel like they will not be forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a major sin. And that's because it's going to push them into more sin. Not to mention that it's su'ad dhan billah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That it means you have bad assumptions about Allah Azza wa Jalla, as if His mercy is less expansive than your sins. As if His mercy can't encompass your sins. Like, as-siyamu junnah. Fasting is a shield. It's a shield in this life, and it's a shield in the next life. It's a shield in this life because it protects you from bad character. Look at the rest of that hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, so if it is the day that you are fasting, then stay away from obscene behavior. And stay away from raising your voice and arguing. La yaskhab. Which is part of good behavior. And if somebody tries to engage you, and this is something else that we have to be a little bit more conscious of, especially in a society where we get agitated frequently. And sabahu ahad, somebody is coming down there insulting you. Maybe on another day, you just had your power drink, you're just coming from the gym, working on the mats, and somebody insults you. Your immediate reaction is to what? It's to respond in kind. It's not hard for me to do what you just did. But when you're fasting, the Prophet ﷺ is trying to get us to train ourselves to do something else. So what do we say when somebody insults you when you fast? I'm fasting. And do you say it out loud or do you say it to yourself? There's a difference of opinion amongst the scholars. But the strongest opinion seems to be that you actually say it out loud. You say it to that person to let them know, I have the ability to respond. But I'm fasting. And I am going to fast, which means to refrain. When you fast, you're refraining from something. Al-imsak, right? To fast is to refrain from eating and drinking. Right now, I'm going to refrain from responding because I'm fasting. And that fasting protects me from bad behavior. And the Prophet ﷺ said that the heaviest thing on the scales is what? Good character. It's good character. أَكْمَلُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِيمَانًا أَحْسَنُهُمْ خُلُقًا. And the most complete of the believers in faith is those who are best in character. We shouldn't take this stuff lightly. Wallahi, we shouldn't look at fasting as being something as simple as refraining from food and drink from dawn to sunrise, and that's where it stops. And all of the tips that we have about Ramadan are about how do I get over these very hot summer days? How do I make it through? Making it through, wallahi. When you do it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even your children are going to make it through without much problems. Without many problems, bi'idhnillah. That's going to be the easy part down the line. The difficult part is refining who you are. It's to become a different person. that Ramadan becomes a true checkpoint. And what happens when you check yourself? Well, what happens when you take account of yourself? What happens? You find your faults. Jazakallah khair. Because we're not angels. We have faults. And so when you check yourself and you check those faults, then bi'idhnillah, you can start to make a plan to change what is wrong. Bi'idhnillah ta'ala. And the best way to do that, the best way that you can plan your change is to read the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala details for us the characteristics of the believers, the characteristics of the people of taqwa, and by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's not one of us who doesn't fall short in some particular category. And so when we read the book of Allah Azza wa Jalla, we have those aspirations to become from the people of taqwa, then bi'idhnillahi ta'ala we'll begin to make that change. I have a question. How many of you plan on reading the entire Quran in Ramadan? Raise your hand. So, if you're going to read the entire Quran in Ramadan, then how much do you need to read every day? A 30th? A juz. A juz every day. So, by a show of hands, and I want everybody to participate. How many of you plan on reading a juz of Quran every day? Okay, excellent. When do you plan on reading that juz every day? After Fajr? Throughout the day. Hold on. Throughout the day. Okay, so something happens in a particular day and you just get tied up. How does that work throughout the day? Just kind of break that down for me. Every salat, you're going to do what? Read a portion. Okay, nice. Anybody else got another plan? No? So either after Fajr or throughout the day. That's it? That's our plan? After work. What is after work? Okay. Can we can everybody pay attention with me real quick? It is my humble opinion, and don't shoot arrows from your eyes. It is my humble opinion that the only reason why you're stopping at a juz is because nobody has encouraged you to do more. To read a juz a day is what you should do every day of the year. وقال الرسول يا ربي إن قوم اتخذوا هذا القرآن مهجورا. The Prophet said, "Oh my Lord, my people have taken this Quran as something to be abandoned. They've abandoned the Quran." You look at what the scholars of Tafsir say. The scholars of Tafsir mention that abandoning the Quran, and as Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala said, that anybody who does not read the Quran from cover to cover in 40 days has abandoned the Quran. He said, and I haven't heard anyone say a number less than that. In other words, most of them say 30 days. That if you don't read the Quran from cover to cover, then you have abandoned the Quran. The reason why I'm saying that, I think that we stop at a juz in Ramadan, when that was, I'm telling you, you can read from the Sahaba to the Tabi'een to the Bad Tabi'een to the scholars of very recent till today. There's no such thing as a juz in Ramadan. There's no such thing as that. 10 juz, 5 juz for those who are busy, right? And that's kind of like where it stops. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be able to do that. We have a different lifestyle. There are many things that are going on. But how long does it take you to read a juz? Tell you, for the brother who said that after Fajr, how long does it take to read a juz after Fajr? 20 minutes. Allahu Akbar. Okay. So are we saying now, let's double that. We get 40 minutes. Are we saying that we can't dedicate 40 minutes in Ramadan? Shahru Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran. The month of Ramadan in which the Quran was revealed. And that was the time that the scholars, even the scholars of hadith like Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, stopped teaching in Ramadan. There's no teaching, no dars. The dars was the Quran itself. Pick up the Quran and they read the Quran. I was talking with Shaykh Tahir before this talk, and we were talking about Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah ta'ala, who used to read the Quran in Ramadan. He used to finish the Quran how many times in Ramadan? 60 times. 60 times. Twice a day he would finish reading the Quran. And then we say, nah, that's legend. That's just stuff they put in the books. Nah, it's not stuff they put in the books. It's not just stuff they put in the books. Shaykh Abdullah al-Ghudayyan, rahimahullah ta'ala, from the Mashayikh, from Hayat Kibar al-Ulama. He was from the committee of major scholars until he died, Allah yarhamu. He said that he used to have a group. And I'm telling you this because this is stuff that just happened. Like this is, within our lifetime. Sheikh said when they were seeking knowledge, it was him and a group of his companions. He said their routine after Fajr, every Jumu'ah, they pray Fajr in the masjid and they sit. They open up the Mus'haf and they read until the Khatib gets on the minbar. And you know what would happen? They finish the Quran. In the time between Fajr and the time of the khutbah. He said it would take him 12 minutes to read a juz. Now we sit back, I can't read a juz in 12 minutes. I'm narrating, I'm not telling you about myself. But for those of you who don't even know Arabic, if you've read Surah Al-Kahf every Friday for the last 10 years, for example, in Arabic, guess what happens? It becomes very easy on the tongue. Very easy on the tongue. This is what they were doing with the entire Quran. Not just with Surah Al-Kahf. They were reading the Quran every week. And this was a methodology that was followed by many of the Sahaba. I'm not here to talk about that. What I want you to do today is to read a half a juz of Quran today. And if you can't do it tonight because you have other engagement, start tomorrow. Tomorrow's May 6th, 7th? May 6th. Tomorrow's May 6th. Y'all with me? I want you to read a half a juz tomorrow. And time yourself. So before you start reading your half a juz, and preferably, and I know this may be against normal advice, I want you to read it in English. Because I want you to know what you're reading. I want you to know what you're reading. All right? And if you can get a chance to read it in Arabic as well, then alhamdulillah. But the Quran is not meant to be read simply for barakah or to get a reward, to get some type of... It's supposed to be read for understanding. All right? So, read a half a juz. Time yourself. Do the same thing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Once you find out how long it takes you to read a half a juz, then I want you to double that. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, start reading a juz every day. Time yourself. Know how long it's going to take you. And then for Ramadan, plan to read 2 juz a day. Clear? Okay. So if half a juz takes you 15 minutes at the most, wallahu alam, then how long is it going to take you to read 2 juz of Quran? 2 juz of Quran. It's going to take you 60 minutes. It's going to take you an hour. So what you want to do is push yourself now. And this is what you're going to do when you partner back up. Is to figure out in a day when you're going to dedicate that hour. When are you going to dedicate that hour to the Quran? Because we have to get off of this concept that, you know, we're with the angels, you know, when we read a juz of Quran a day. MashaAllah, finish the Quran this Ramadan. And it's a great thing. No, really, wallahi, it is a good thing. It's a good thing. But what I'm saying is that if nobody pushes you, you don't realize that that's actually not such a great feat. That you'll push yourself that extra mile, and then you'll see that, hey, I can actually read 2 juz of Quran a day. I never even tried it. And then you know what happens? After Ramadan, you'll go back down to 1 juz a day, and that's fine. But now you'll find yourself with an intimate relationship with the Quran. And now when you read the Quran, you'll read it differently. It's going to talk to you in a different way. How many of you have Quran on your smart devices? We're running out of time. Pull them out right now. I want you to go to Al-Hujurat. I don't know which ayah it is. اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن. Which ayah is that? 11, 12? 49 is the number of the surah. Sisters as well. Pull out your smartphones. Go to Surah Al-Hujurat in English. I want you to be able to read it in English.
What verse are you
Oh, you believe, stay away from much suspicion. اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن. Which ayah is it? It's 12. Okay, so it's number 12. Go to Hujurat 12. 49 chapter, 12th verse, 12th ayah. Type. Who's going to read it? Somebody with a robust voice, huh? Type, go ahead. Speak up.
O you who believe, avoid much suspicion.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, some suspicion is a sin. And do not spy or backbite each other. Would one of you like to eat the flesh of his brother when he is dead? You would detest it. And fear Allah. Indeed, Allah is accepting of repentance and merciful.
Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah is commanding us to avoid suspicion, to avoid spying, to avoid backbiting. And then he lets us know that even if we have fallen into some of these things, that he is tawwab, that he accepts our repentance, that he is merciful and forgiving. Tayyib. By Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you read that frequently, wouldn't you be more likely to avoid suspicion, to avoid backbiting? Because you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding you. When you move away from the Quran, and this is not something that you read off, it's very easy to just come and you talk about somebody, and backbiting is real easy. You know why? Because we're truth tellers. I say it to his face. Even if you say it to his face, you're not saying it to his face right now, and you're backbiting. And if you say it to his face, that's called what? Seb. It's insulting him, which is also not permissible. I mean, we think that because you'll say it to somebody's face, that makes it permissible. No, it doesn't make it permissible. It just changes the sin. That's it. And so, look at this ayah though. And now this is the thing. So this is a very, I don't want to use the word superficial, but it's a non-deep reading of this particular ayah. All right? Now, let's go a step further and let's look at this ayah, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us. Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying, avoid what in the beginning? Avoid suspicion. Suspicion is something you do with what? Your nose, your ears. It's a heart. It's from your heart. So Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling you to beware of what you allow to come into your heart. Period. Beware of what you are feeling. This is important. Okay. In the Bible, some of that which you're feeling, some of that suspicion that you have is sinful. Some of those feelings you have are sinful. But then what's going to happen? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا. And don't spy. Now, spy is not something you do with your heart. That's something you actually do what? You going out. You might even call somebody and you do dry spying. Yeah, when last time you saw so-and-so? What's he up to these days? You're not really worried about his well-being. You're trying to find out from that person, that third party, can you get some information that does what? Verifies your suspicion. And so your spying now is actually for what? It's if your suspicion was haram in the first place, whether you are correct or incorrect. The suspicion is haram. But now, because you want to be right, you want to be right about that suspicion that you have. What do? You go look for information that verifies the suspicion. Look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Hakim. He's telling us avoid suspicion and don't spy. Because your next step after you are suspicious is that you're going to do what? You're going to spy. Now you found out that everything you thought about this person was true. So now what you do? You go back and tell everybody else. And that's called backbiting. وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا. And don't backbite one another. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shut that all down because it destroys the community. But if we don't read the Quran, we're never even going to come across this stuff. If we don't ponder over what we're reading, then this is not going to be a part of our discourse. And so it is very important that you use the month of Ramadan as a tool to draw closer to the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make it a part of your life, that you increase in the reading of the Quran in Ramadan, and you build a habit so that after Ramadan, it's easy for you to read a juz of Quran a day. It becomes very easy for you, and you become from the people who draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through His speech, and you become from the people of the Quran. I know we have to stop because of the adhan, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. There's a lot more to say. We're supposed to have Q&A? Okay, so immediately after Salat, we're going to have questions and answers, inshallah. I'll wrap up this particular idea, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, after the Salat, bi'idhnillah, and then we'll have questions and answers. Wallahu a'lam, subhanakallah wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.